Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Coleman Flentge. Coleman, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I know it was sort of last minute, but I am just thrilled to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Coleman is right. I usually start by making some sort of snotty or not nice comment about where my guests are located or about their favorite sports team. But today, it's all going to be gratitude for Coleman. I realize that I am traveling next week. Usually I am 4 or 5 weeks ahead on the podcast, and therefore I didn't have someone for the following week because I was planning on recording it next week. And hit the Facebook group this morning. People who want to be guests have interesting stories. Coleman's number one. I'm really happy you did reach out because we have a lot to talk about. But I'm just going to start this episode with props. Props to Coleman's Hustle for being available, because everybody knows my father always used to say availability, affability, and ability in that order. And availability is number one. And that's what we're going to have to hear from Coleman. So let's jump right in. I want to ask you what led you to where you are today. I know the journey begins and ends with music, and I want to discuss that because I'm going to get to. Recently I've been reading a lot of the most poignant thing in people's bios that I find, and I think that there's a lot there. But what in your life led to that calling? What you're doing today, and kind of take us back to where the hustle began and where you are now with the hustle.
Oh God. So it's a long thing. So I'll try and condense it as much as I can.
We're here to listen.
Great, because I've got a lot to say. So growing up, I think that you just mentioned this. My career is basically in music, and it's what I do now. It's what I've done for the last probably 15 years or so, but that was not always the case. I grew up in a really small town in Western Kentucky, and it was a single mother raising 3 boys. My dad was really not in the picture. And so when we talk about this hustle and where it comes from, the first place it comes from, undoubtedly is from my mother, that she really that she gave everything that she had to make sure that me and my brothers never went without. And that is something that I am immensely grateful for and I admire her for. And she's still hustling to this day, probably harder than most people. And I love that about her. So my hustle really begins with the inspiration from my mother. But growing up, I was honestly not a musical person. I did not take any sort of lessons. I showed no aptitude in music. And around I think it was freshman year in high school, I started to become interested in it. I joined choir, found a love of music. And I think the reason I loved music so much was because I was bad at it. I had a friend tell me in the 6th grade, "You suck, don't sing." And I had plenty of people that were not encouraging towards my musical pursuits. And with good reason. I was not, like I said, there was nothing about my musical abilities that would have indicated I would make a whole career out of it and that I should do something else. But my drive to be good at it, that I was driven to be the best musician that I could possibly be, that fueled me for a really long time. And that's what propelled me to move 834 miles away to Tampa, Florida. I had never been here before. I didn't know anybody in the Tampa Bay area and just came down here because the University of Tampa was the first school that accepted me. They accepted me into their music program. And I said, I guess I'm going to Florida. And I came down here through a series of mentors that encouraged me to explore the things that I was both passionate and good at. I made a career for myself in music. That lasted about 10 years. I got my master's degree in music education and choral conducting. I taught elementary school and high school for about 4 years, 4 years of each. So 8 years. And I conducted community choirs, church choirs, done all those sorts of things. And over the last 2 years or so, I've been asking myself some really deep questions about what it is that I want to do with my life. And the more I answered that for myself, the clearer it became that leaving the classroom was my next move. So back in May, I left my job as a teacher and started the business that I'm sure we'll talk about, the uninterrupted life, with the idea of, or with the intent of answering the question, who am I uninterrupted? Who would I be if nothing stood in my way? And that's where I'm at in my entrepreneurial journey. That if we're answering the question, what led me here, it was music instilled an adventurous spirit in me. It instilled a wonder about the beauty in the world, and my soul is wanting to see more of that. And I knew that in order to have the experiences that I wanted to have out of life, leaving the classroom was the next step, and that's where I'm kind of at today.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. I love that.
Hmm.
I want to go back to something you said at the beginning of your answer. And that is that your hustle was inspired by your mother and that you
Hmm.
worked to make sure that you and your brother, I think you said,
Two brothers, yes.
two brothers, never, I also have two brothers, bam,
Hmm.
sister two, but three brothers actually, whoopsies, that
Oh.
you never went hungry, right? Or without
Hmm.
anything. Did you realize that at the time? Or, because this is what Keep Hustling is all about, or now that you look back at it, you see it. And my thesis with Keep Hustling and with 110 episodes under our belt here is that most of the things that form who
Hmm.
we are, what inspires us, what makes us want to contribute to the world, how we want to contribute to the world, are from sources or life experiences
Hmm.
that we didn't realize at the time we're having that. Obviously, you could have a situation where a person is, walking on the street and a plane crashes in front of them or they're saved by whatever and they say I want to be a firefighter because my life was saved
Hmm.
by that. Let's just say, right? But those are super rare. What's
Hmm.
really what ends up happening, like what you're saying, is right. Hustle inspire, and I'm guessing. So take me there.
Hmm.
Now that I asked you the question, you said it, but at the time you probably didn't realize, or did you?
No, I absolutely did not. I think that there was a part of me that realized what my mother was doing and what she was sacrificing, but nothing, because like I said, my dad was not in the picture, and the reason he wasn't in the picture was my dad had struggled with mental health, like severe mental health issues for his entire life, and that made him unable to be the father that I needed, the husband that my mother needed, and so on. So that's why she was single and really could not rely on him. So at the time, a part of me realized what she was doing and that she was doing it by herself. Over the years, looking back, I have been able to piece together some information that has just left me in awe of the woman that she was. I mean, I had to go through, as when I was applying for colleges, I remember having access to her tax reports or tax returns from the last several years. And there were 3 or 4 years in a row where she made, $3,000 and $4,000 for the entire year. And yet when I think about that part of my childhood, I don't ever remember feeling like I couldn't have what I asked for, because not to say that we got everything that we were after, but we never went hungry. We always had presents for Christmas, our birthdays. We were always able to go do the things at school that we, needed to do or that cost money. She always found a way to make sure that we did not know the difference. I didn't even know that I was on free and reduced lunch for most of my, I guess it would have been like elementary school and middle school times. And even in high school, like none of this was aware in me at the time, beyond just the recognition that I knew she was a hard worker and that I knew she was working to be the best that she could for us. And then as I get older and I watch her continue to change and to do new things with her life, she completely did a 180 in her career a few years ago and has found a new passion at this stage in her life that she is relentlessly pursuing. And I take so much inspiration and admiration from someone who has been able to do that her entire life, despite not having a college degree, despite having her parents die when she was really young, and not having a safety net, and that she has always, for her entire life, had to figure it out. And she instilled that same quality in me and my brothers. I like to laugh and say that we all have the disposition that we have to learn things the hard way. And that is because we can never seem to find the easy way through things. And I think that there is a hidden blessing in that, that even though we have to learn things the long and the hard way, it makes it more meaningful on the other side.
Isn't that unbelievable that
Mhm.
now when you piece it together, and that's one of the things, and I know we're going to talk about mindfulness and we're definitely going to talk about music. We're definitely getting there. But
Mhm.
one of the amazing things I think that I get to do or hear by hosting this podcast is that I get to talk to people about their journey. And
Mhm.
sometimes they piece it together here on the, in as part of the conversation. And it's just unbelievable to me that there are so many people in the world who, and I don't know if there's a way to actually pinpoint it, right? Because
Mhm.
you can't say to 3-year-old you, by the way, you have no idea what your mother's doing and how she's hustling
Right.
and what that's going to do to you. But I almost wish like there was a moment
Mhm.
where every person was asked, and maybe that's just me promoting the podcast, like, take me there. Because
Mhm.
if people would realize it, and I'm not even talking about having appreciation for the people that hustled for them, I just think that people would realize that there's so many little things
Mhm.
that make the complex puzzle that are Aaron, Coleman, or
Mhm.
everybody else, that it's super inspirational to me. You say, and your thesis, and I
Mhm.
think, and I want to spend some time on this. Your life's mission is, or at least now, is connecting people to their creativity and sense of presence through
Mhm.
conversation, mindfulness, and through the transformative power of music.
Mhm.
Now, I've heard a lot of people that have talked, I've had a lot of people that have spoken to me about conversation. I don't want to, not that that's not important.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
right.
get there. I've had a lot of people talk to me about mindfulness. I
Mhm.
know what that is, but I want to talk about the transformative power of music
Mhm.
because, and with that, I'm going to lead with 2 points or stories. First is there's a reason why everyone sings in the shower.
Mhm.
There's a reason why everyone sings in the shower. And I've actually given thought to this because one of my kids, I'm blessed to have 4 daughters and a son. And one of my daughters,
Mhm.
man, you could put her in the attic. That's where her bathroom is. That's where she showers. And the whole house knows when she's in the
Mhm.
shower. And it's great. And it's amazing because
Mhm.
even when people know that they can be heard, doesn't matter. It's like literally the
Mhm.
world. And I think it's part of the whole relaxation and it's
Mhm.
transformative. And we're going to discuss that. But as an Orthodox Jew, when I unfortunately lost my father 2.5 years ago, I wasn't able to listen to music for a full year of
Mhm.
mourning. And I knew I loved music. I knew I loved singing music and I knew I loved new music. And obviously my family and I still sang together and sat and did those things. But when I lost it, it was, and I understand why part of a religion's view of mourning is removing the joy of music.
Mhm.
And it's transformative when you have it. It's transformative when you don't. And if anybody doesn't believe in it, man, find the music that sings to you. And the other
Mhm.
thing that I'll say to you, and I want to hear your comments on all 3 things I'm going to bring up. Those are 2 points. And the third point is if you ever look around at the type of music that different people are into, and you go to a country music concert and you look around, and it's not just people like you from Kentucky, right?
Mhm.
And you go to, I've never been to one, but you go to a fish concert. And from what I understand, there are literally people in their 60s who don't give up the fish, and people who are young, and people who are
Mhm.
all different gender, shape, sizes. Like you literally have billionaires who become like 20-year-old college kids again, right?
Mhm.
And we could go on and on and on. The kids who have no business singing rap music, who love rap music, all those different things. That there's that thing where when you find that music that speaks to you
Mhm.
unpredictably, wow, this is crazy, and it does something
Mhm.
to you. So that's my intro to the transformative power of music. Shower, losing it, how everybody loves music in a different type. And by the way,
Mhm.
I'm just going to say one more thing, and then really I want to turn it over to you. And that is
Okay. That's fine.
the crazy part is meet a truly tone deaf person who's into music,
Mhm.
bro. They don't care.
Mm-mm.
They don't care. Now, again, I don't think they're going to get up on stage if everybody tells them they're terrible. But like when that shower's there, they
Mhm.
know that like they start singing and somebody shoves a napkin in their mouth at the table or whatever. But when they're alone, they're in the car.
Mhm.
Come on.
Mhm.
So go for it. That's my intro. I want to know your thoughts.
Well, there's a lot of beautiful things that can be said about that. And just as an expression of condolence, I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your father. I actually
Thank you.
just very recently lost my dad. That was back on October the 8th. So I am in a similar space now of going through the grieving and the mourning process. And one of the joys that I was given throughout this was picking the music for his funeral service and using music as an act of service or an act of love, and final expression of that towards him. And that's just one facet of how music can be an expression of what is going on inside of us.
And
So
by the way,
if
I
we
think that
move,
there's a reason why every single religion has
Mhm.
music as part of service. And again, I'm not talking about religion better, which religion's better, but
Right.
again, spirituality, like every real powerful religious service is centered around singing
Mhm.
or song, or it should be at least. So
Mhm.
anyway, sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
and it is, and it's because music, whether we fully understand it or not, is a part of who we are as people. So when I talk about, even in the early part of my thesis statement, where I talk about helping people rediscover their creativity, it's the same idea that it is part of who we are as people, that we know, just, and I happen to know this just because I love music history, that music history is as old as human history, that we know for certain that people, or what we are, our species, has been making music for as long as we have been considered, in communities or in societies. And I think that that is because, from a very innate or natural sense, we understand the power that sound has in our bodies, in making us feel certain things, and in expressing parts of ourselves or parts of our soul as a learning or growing or healing process. There's a great story, if we're talking about the religion of music. I'm currently reading a book called The Mysticism of Sound and Silence, which is by a Sufi musician, Hazrat Inayat Khan. And it is one of the most, I'm about a third of the way through, but every page is just this beautiful poetic, explanation of why music appears in every aspect of human culture around the world throughout history, and what it offers us as musicians. And one of the stories that he tells, which is now I think one of my favorite stories of creation, is that, and again, this is just aside from religion, you can plug in whatever words you want to use. I'm going to use the word God because that's what he uses here, but use whatever deity makes sense to you. But he tells the story of when God created man out of clay, he commanded the soul to enter the body, and the soul refused because it felt that the body was a prison. And so God commanded the angels to sing, and the soul entered the body because the soul itself was a song. And I think one of the reasons that we are all, whether we are tone deaf, whether we play instruments, whether we just want to sing in the shower or in the car by ourselves, we all understand that the act of singing, or the act of using music as an expression of what we are feeling, is a freeing and liberating experience. It's how we express the soul. The author talks in the book about the voice itself is a song, and the voice itself is life. And I think that, just, if we take that and narrow it back to what we're experiencing right now, that that's why we all love the music that we do. And I love how you phrased the music that speaks to you, because that's absolutely what it is, that everybody's soul is unique and different, that we're all individual people, and different music speaks to us in very different ways. But the message, in my mind, the message is always the same. And the message is that music is how we communicate the things that we don't understand, the things that we don't know. It's how we dig deep into who we are. So I think that that covers one point. Then you said, I sort of talked about the shower thing and the loss of music, and I experienced something not similar, but that same idea of losing music. When I first started this entrepreneurial journey, I was doing my previous job. I had three jobs, all of which were making music. I was teaching choir and orchestra, I had a community choir, and I was the associate director of music at a church. And everything that I did, from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed, was making music. And when I switched into this new entrepreneurship, starting out doing some health and wellness coaching, personal training, things like that, my soul didn't like that. It didn't like not being around music. And over the last few weeks, as I've been dealing with the fallout of my father's unexpected death, that returning to the music that calls me, or returning to music as an art, has been very important to me. So when I went back with my community choir at on Monday night for our first rehearsal back together, because I'd been away from them, it was healing just to be in the presence of, or just to have the ability to make music. And I think that when it comes to all of us, that we are all musical. And I never like it when people say, oh, I'm not a musician, or even use the phrase, I'm tone deaf, because you're looking at someone who was certifiably tone deaf for a very long time. I was a sophomore in college, so I was already pursuing music at this point, and the director of vocal studies asked me after one of my juries or end of semester exams, said, are you sure you're not tone deaf? And that was, I mean, I was 20 years old and I'm only 30 now. And so, for anyone who is listening who loves making music but feels afraid or feels like they have to keep it to just being in the shower or just in the car when nobody can hear you, I am here to tell you that anybody can sing and anybody can learn these skills to be a better producer of sound. And I do think it is important to do so. But the other aspect is that everyone has permission to do so, that let your soul sing, even if other people don't like it or whatever. Let yourself be creative, let yourself express what you are trying to do in music, and don't be afraid and only limit it to just being in the shower or just being in the car.
I love what you said, and I think that there's a part of that which is most people assume, and I think without stealing your profession, but this is the transformative power of music,
Hmm.
or part of it. Most people assume that when you create something, it's for others.
Hmm.
When you create music, it's for others. But really, and yes, there are people that make tens of millions and billions of dollars a year on other people consuming their music. But the greatest impact of that music is on the person.
Hmm.
Other people may benefit too. But I think the transformative power of music is the person who is producing the music, the sound, the rhythm,
Hmm.
the song, the words, all that. It impacts them. And by the way, it also helps those that are out there.
Yes.
But the people who say, I have nothing to contribute to others via music, right? Nobody's going to
Hmm.
want to listen to me. My music doesn't make sense. The sound, it isn't thought out. It isn't, that's okay.
Hmm.
Again, I wouldn't say make a profession out of it, because you're going to go down a really lonely path where people might not listen to it. But it's like, if it only impacts you,
Hmm.
is there any greater hobby or pastime for a person that can positively impact them? Doesn't
Hmm.
cost anything. Again, you want to get into an instrument, whatever. But I'm just saying that moment of freedom, even in the car or even in the
Hmm.
shower or even in whatever, like, it doesn't matter if the other person doesn't like it, because it's for you. So I think
Hmm.
that's super powerful and awesome.
And I
Do we
want to
miss
add
anything on?
on,
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
because that idea, and I love that you said that, because that's something that I work on with my musicians all the time, because we get in this mindset that we are performing for other people, that we have this idea that the concert is the end all be all, or that it's the goal. And I always tell my musicians, I'm like, the concert is not for anybody in the room. The performance is for us. And like, yes, it's for at the individual level as well, but also the collective experience. Like, when we are making music together, we are the ones, the ensemble is the one that's really getting the benefit of it, because we are the ones experiencing that synergy of energy that you don't get in almost any other setting. I have a community choir of volunteer musicians that are aged. I've got some of my former high school students, all the way to people that come in they've got walkers in there, and they just, the reason they come to make music is simply for the joy of making music. And when we experience that together, when we get to collectively make something beautiful, I think that that is where we receive that transformative power. That it's, you don't get that everywhere else. Most offices, like if you go and work at an office, most offices are not letting you create something beautiful with everybody else around you. And most of us live relatively contained lives, that we don't get the opportunity to create in a space with essentially random strangers. But music offers that avenue. And I think the reward that we get in return to our soul, to our spirit, to who we are as people, is incredibly beneficial. So I would encourage anyone that, yes, explore making music on your own in whatever way that makes sense, but don't be afraid to make music with other people, because music is a communal act, that music is a conversation. It's a conversation between you and the other people you're making music with. It's a conversation between you and the audience or the listener. And it's a conversation with you and yourself and you and the universe. And giving yourself or being in a space where you can have all of those things going on at the same time is an otherworldly experience. Like, I've never experienced anything, and I've done a lot of things. I've been skydiving, I've gone all over the world, and I've never experienced the same energy in my soul as I have when I am making music with a group of people, and we get to share a moment that only exists right then. That music is fleeting, it disappears right after our mouths close or the last sound stops and it returns to silence, but we get to create and feel that sound in our bodies. And I think that that is an experience that I wish everyone would have.
100%. And I'm going to give you just to close, because we got to get to the close. But I will say, I'll give you another great thing about music that I just thought about, and that is
Mhm,
music. Good music is the only, I don't say the only, but it's one of the only things that a person can listen to and go back to or sing
mhm,
over and over and over again,
mhm.
and over and over and over again. You can only, I don't know about you, but I find most people can only read a book so many times, can only watch
Right.
a movie so many times, but they can listen. My wife, when she gets into a song, oh my God, it's playing the kids over and over and
Mhm,
over and over and over and over and over again, even from a young age. And that's because I think that it has that
mhm,
impact, and therefore it doesn't really matter that I've heard it before, because if it just gives me a little bit more nuance, it will
mhm,
be awesome. I am blessed personally that the stars aligned today for us to have
mhm.
this conversation. So again, I thank you for making the quick time. Thank you for having fun. This is
This has been
awesome.
a blast. I'll talk about music all day. I love it.
We're going to tag your book in the description.
Mhm.
Everybody's going to get your bio. We're going to find that. Listeners, check out Coleman. He's doing awesome stuff. And as you know, we have a close tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote. And so with that, Coleman, I'll say thank you again for being here, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Aaron. And I am, like I said, I'm glad that we were able to make this work. And I just want to again comment, maybe ask for some clarification. Your first statement at the very beginning was that your father taught you availability, affability, and ability. Was that the
Yeah,
sequence there?
ability is the least important.
I just love that. I hope that you and your father don't mind if I steal that and put that away in my brain, because I think that that is a
Go for
beautiful
it.
statement. But yes, I am so grateful to have been here, and like I said, I'm happy to talk anytime. But to close, my favorite statement, and this one came to me. I actually read it. At my father's eulogy when I delivered his eulogy. And so it's one that's sticking with me right now. He was a huge fan of Mark Twain, and a very famous Mark Twain quote that I think is right now for me probably the thing that's getting me through is that the fear of death follows the fear of life. A man who is not afraid to die is able to live fully. And I just love that quote, and I'm going to leave it there because it doesn't need my explanation.
And that will definitely inspire you to keep hustling. This has been another episode
Mhm.
of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.